Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Trace Perot, aka the Raw Vegan Cowboy. I am here doing this series to present a system that I am creating that has to do with understanding other people and yourselves through what is traditionally called astrology, but which I prefer to refer to it as cosmic programming. So eventually we'll get into all that. But the idea is basically this. It's for you and me to be able to easily understand the orientation, inclinations, values, personalities, actions of anyone you come in contact with in terms of a meaningful contact, whether it be your friends, family, employers, people you admire, role models, or just a casual stranger. Okay? And it is my belief, my experience, that what I have discovered about cosmic programming is a tremendous help in dealing and relating to other people and to yourself, actually. So, if that sounds like something you're interested in, please stay tuned and keep watching the video. Basically, let me start with a brief history of my encounter with cosmic programming. I started paying attention to it maybe 30 years ago. I did a lot of book reading. I did a lot of observation. I've mostly gotten my knowledge from observation. I would get a few ideas here and there about from reading, and then I would go out and I would just watch and observe people and consider situations and stuff like that, to find out, you know, what proved to be true and what wasn't true, and what was useful and what wasn't useful. So that's where I get my information. Everything from sitting down at a Whole Foods market, reading one of their bulletins that has a little sentence about, astrology, or, actually listening to a full-on lecture by somebody, or reading an entire 300-page book. So that's where I've got my information from. So if you are a non-believer, well, all I can say is all you have to do is look at the sun and the influence of the sun, which is a planet in our solar system, or the moon. You know, if you go out for a half hour in the tropical sun without any shirt on, you're going to get sunburn. That is an influence, a physical, maybe a purely physical influence, but it might be psychological as well. The moon and the sun controls the entire biosphere, so we wouldn't even be here without the sun. That's a pretty strong influence. And the moon is another one, controls the entire ebb and flow of the oceans of the earth. And of course, pretty much everybody agrees that people get a little crazy around the time of the full moon. Also, if you're into gardening and you've tried biodynamic gardening according to the cycles of the moon, it makes a huge difference in the productivity of your garden. So these are all influences of the planet. Now, the trick is that the other planets also influence you. It's just a lot more subtle. It can be physical. It's mostly psychological. Okay, so that's all I can say. If you're a non-believer, if you think there's no value to cosmic programming, so I'll leave it at that. So what I intend to do is I'm creating a system, a very practical, easily followed system for using the knowledge that is inherent in cosmic programming to better relate to the people around you and yourself. This can be extremely important if you know the orientation and the values and the desires and the inclinations of your employer, for instance, or your boss, or your partner, or your best friend. I mean, if you know these things and they're easily accessible through cosmic programming, you're going to have a much easier time in your life because you're going to understand people and what motivates them. And in doing so, you will be able to accept them and at their level, and you'll have a much easier time, believe me. So the method that I'm going to use is I'm going to present this on an astrological wheel. So that's what this circle is. Now, if you want to use your imagination a little bit, this circle represents the entire spectrum of values, personalities, psychology, physical makeup, inclinations of the entire body of humanity, the human race, okay? In this circle. So that's what you got to think of this. This is every possible psychological orientation capable of being present in an individual, any individual in the entire human race, okay? So we're going to start with that. This is the baseline, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create templates that we're going to put on top of this baseline, okay? So this is your base template, and then we're going to layer onto this more successively informative and somewhat more detailed, precise templates, which will help you understand the sun sign. So I'm strictly working with the sun sign, which is one aspect, only one aspect of the astrology. There are many, 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 many more aspects, but the sun is really virtually the most important when you're dealing with people's psychological makeup. It will always be the dominant force in their life, no matter how much on the cusp they are, or if they're right in the middle of the sign, it will always be the dominant force. Okay. So let me explain why I'm doing this series. And my major motivation comes from two things. One, I've just realized tremendous practicality in cosmic programming and understanding it. Number two is that traditional astrology, the traditional approach to astrology that you see currently and in the last, say, 100 years, I feel is completely inadequate. It's overly complex. It's virtually totally useless. Okay, it's completely oriented towards, well, I won't say completely, but greatly oriented towards predictions, which are very hard. It's very hard to track predictions in astrology and see if they actually materialize. I think I've been successful once by listening to an astrologer and tracking a prediction to see if it actually happened. Okay, so the astrology that's out there, that's on the internet, that's in a lot of books, it's not useful, right? And this is a tool that everybody should have at their beck and call, kind of like having a calculator in your pocket if you want to figure out some number, some monetary thing or something. You're going to have a calculator in your brain where you can immediately cue into what you're dealing with in any particular person. So let's just dive right in, okay? And I'm going to try to make these presentations, 15 minutes to a half hour. I'm going to do one every week, ideally on the same day, so you can tune in, and we'll just take it one episode at a time, and each episode is going to present a new concept. And hopefully, right off the bat, you're going to see the usefulness of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide this circle in half. Okay? Just like that. And this is our template for this episode. Now, what this does is divides all the possibilities of the human race and their psychology, physical makeup, etc., into two sides. Okay? The first side, one of these sides, is positive masculine. Okay? The other side is negative feminine. I do spell that, F-E-M-L-I. Feminine, I guess. Is that it? That's it. Okay, so one side positive masculine, one side negative feminine. Okay, so the question is, what are you, and everybody that you encounter with, which one are you? Are you positive masculine? Are you negative feminine? Now, this is the most basic breakdown of, a human being's composition. So, how do we determine this? Okay, so here's what we do. It's a very symmetrical thing in cosmic programming, in looking at the astrological wheel. So, as you probably know, there are 12 signs in the zodiac, right? Okay, so if we start with the first sign is Aries, the next sign is Taurus, and they progress through the 12 until they get to Pisces, and then it starts over, right? So that's easily understood. There's 12 of them, right? So the way that it's set out very symmetrically is that every other sign is masculine, is either masculine or feminine, okay? So I'm talking about the basic orientation of a person, okay? And we'll get into that a little deeper. So let's start with the masculine. The first sign of the zodiac is Aries, okay? The second sign is Taurus, okay? That's what I am. I'm a Taurus, okay? The third sign is Gemini. The fourth sign is Cancer. Okay, you can see where this is going. Every other sign, either positive masculine, negative feminine. Gemini, Cancer, Leo. Okay. Virgo. Okay. Then we go to Libra. Then we go to Scorpio. Then we go to Sagittarius. Okay. Then we go to Capricorn. Okay. Then we go to Aquarius. Then we go to Pisces. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with these terms, look them up. These are the 12 signs of the zodiac. So we got 6 on one side, 6 on the other. Okay. So, as we go through this series, we are going to delve into what these signs are all about in terms of these templates, okay? And all these signs relate to one another, and they all can be looked at very specifically in relation to one another. So, at any rate, you probably know which sign you are at this point in your life, okay? Roughly speaking, Aries starts in April and goes into May. And it's usually midway in the month, so it's usually like April 20th to, or I'm sorry, Aries starts in March, so it's usually like March 15 to 20 until May, 18 to 21, something like that, right? Or, I'm sorry, March to April. So March, April is Aries. Okay, Taurus is April, May. Gemini is May, June. Okay, Cancer is June, July, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the way it goes. I won't put the actual dates up. You can Google that and you can find out. Just remember that even if you're on the last day of Taurus, you're not a Gemini. You will have Gemini traits, but you are definitely dominantly a Taurus. Okay, so what does plus masculine and minus feminine have to do with all of this? Okay, so you're basically, the way it lays out is these 6 signs at their most basic level. Okay, we're talking psychologically, personality wise, physically, mentally, emotionally, okay, all those aspects, they tend to be, or they are, positive signs. Okay, that means their orientation is natively positive. Okay, they also tend to display and be masculine. They're more masculine. Okay, so if you get the concept of feminine and masculine together, you understand, masculine is more out front, it's more aggressive. Feminine is more receptive, more intuitive. Okay, I'm talking about the concepts, not actually about male and female. I'm talking about the concepts of masculinity and femininity. Okay, so masculine usually implies having a more positive, outgoing attitude. That's where you get the positive masculine. Negative, feminine, more receptive, and tends to be more, I won't say negative, but I will say discerning. Okay, a lot more discerning. And both of these aspects, having a positive attitude but also being more discerning, is extremely important in your life. If you're too positive about negative things, well, it's going to kick back at you. If you're too negative about something that could be positive in your life, that's going to kick back at you. Okay? So, and there are ways to ameliorate this. If you are one of these signs and you tend to be negative and it's having a negative effect on your life, there are methods where you can adopt more positive attitudes towards what's going on. Okay? And also you can also appreciate the masculine positive signs more. So that brings up the idea of compatibility. So the negative feminine signs tend to not have a natural rapport with the positive masculine signs. Okay? And this will develop as we lay more templates on here. But that's just a fact of life. But it's actually good, right? Because what I find is that if you're a Taurus and you encounter an Aries and you know about these things, there is a tremendous amount of appreciation that you feel and perceive for the Aries energy. First of all, because it's so different from Taurus, right? And it opens up your world a little bit, and to see how an Aries operates, right? And to gain an appreciation of the sign. And the same thing is true from here to here. Okay, so so that basically is the concept that I wanted to convey on this particular episode. What I really recommend that you do is, first of all, find out what sign you are and sort of self-assess. Are you a positive person? Are you a negative person? Do you tend to be positive impulsively or negatively, or negative impulsively, right off the bat? To be negative about something, if you're one of the positive signs, do you have to kind of talk yourself into it? Does it feel strange? If you're a negative sign and you need to be positive about something, does that feel odd? Okay, or is that just doesn't work with you? Or if you find yourself to be way overly positive and way too masculine and aggressive, well, maybe you need to watch these signs a little bit and see how they operate. Obviously, on this side, the big danger is to be too negative. You cannot make it through life with a negative attitude. Okay, it will compound and it will disrupt your entire life and eventually ruin it. Okay, so you cannot make it through life with a negative attitude. On the other hand, it's very dangerous to be completely positive about things, right? Because there's yin and yang in the world. So if you're completely positive about things, you're going to be positive about a lot of stuff that's actually very negative. So that's basically it this time around. I'm going to close it up. And just to give you a little bit of a precursor on how I'm going to handle this, the next episode is going to divide this across here. And we will have the second template, okay? And then we're going to go across for the third episode, and we're going to have the third template, okay? And we're going to create several templates. And each one of these templates is going to inform you about each one of these signs, right? So what you need to remember from this particular episode is simply that there are basic orientations for everybody on the planet according to the time and date of your birth, okay? And actually, it's more like your date at this level. It's just the date. Not including the year, just the month and the day of the month. And that this will determine if your basic makeup, your basic orientation is negative, feminine, positive, masculine. Now, let's just hit on a couple of subjects before I close this out. One is very interesting to me, which is these signs, whether or not they're masculine or feminine, male or female, like in my case, I'm a male, but I'm a Taurus, which is negative feminine. These signs will tend to show female aspects, female characteristics. Now, one of the things I've discovered is the phenomena of long hair on males, and you will find if you question a male with long hair, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be one of these signs, right? Because basically, they're displaying a feminine trait. Having long hair is a well-accepted social condition of the feminine side of life, okay? So I challenge you to, and the next time you see somebody with long hair, ask them what sign they are. Well, a male with long hair, and I'm not talking like right here, I'm talking, long, like mine, right? So there are other feminine characteristics that will be displayed. I mean, like in the case of a Taurus, Taurus is considered to be the most introverted sign of the zodiac. Introversion is a characteristic of reception, okay? You're not putting things out there on the line all the time. You're not pushing things out on the front like a masculine approach. You're receiving information. It's a reception concept, okay? So that's an introversion. So you'll find appropriately that the Taurus, the most introverted sign of the zodiac, is negative feminine. Okay, let's look at Aries, or let's look at a masculine sign. Let me finish. So if you are a male with a negative feminine sign, okay, you basically, the word used is you embody the female. Okay, so it's not really who you are. You are a male, but you embody female aspects. Okay, and the same is true if you are a female and you are one of these signs. You are in reality a female. There's no question about that. But you embody you'll embody and display several masculine traits traits that are associated with masculinity, with outgoingness and aggression and positivity. Okay. And in this, just like over here, in this case, you are embodying the masculinity. You're embodying the masculine. It's not really who you are. So that's an important point right here. But anyways, let's look at Aries. Aries is opposed to Taurus. Aries is the first sign. Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac. Aries is known as the infant. Taurus is known as the 2-year-old. Okay, so Aries is generally regarded as, quote unquote, the general of the zodiac. Okay, General George Patton, the most famous general in history, besides some of the ancient Greek ones and Roman, was an Aries, appropriately. So what is it about Aries that is masculine? Well, they're extremely outgoing. They're very eloquent. They tend to be masters of rallying resources and acquiring. War is about physical territory, right? So they go out and they try to capture physical territory. They're very outgoing. They're leading men. They're spurring them on. Okay, so these are all very masculine traits, and Aries is a very masculine sign. Okay, so that sort of gives you an idea of this whole masculine, feminine, and how important it is. Because if you encounter a Taurus, it's going to be a completely different experience than if you encounter an Aries. Okay? Now, in my work, which is I work with homeless people, mostly elderly homeless or elderly people in elderly housing projects, I have a couple of senior workers, and one is an Aries. And she's amazing. I mean, this woman is incredible. She's basically handicapped. She's got a very bad leg that she has to kind of drag around. But she helps me 5 days a week. She's amazing. And she, I've really learned to appreciate her Aries traits. She doesn't mess around, number one. She gets right to the point. Okay? If there's a task that she needs to do, it's done. And it's done right. Okay? She rallies resources. She brings things into work, okay, that are very useful, very necessary. On the other hand, she's got some interesting Aries traits, like she's very combative, or she can be very confrontational or argumentative, right? And me over here, the negative Taurus, which traditionally the earth sign is burned by the fire sign, I know these things so I can appreciate where she's coming from. Okay, so that's why this level, this template is so important, is because it gives you clues on how to deal with people. Okay, so as I was saying, there's not a natural rapport between these two groups of signs. These signs are going to have a much more natural rapport with one another, and it's the same here, okay? And we will get into that a little deeper, and how you overcome what is potentially a conflict between this side and this side. Okay, and that's very important when you're dealing with all these different people in your lives. You can get a great deal more out of living if you know these things about people, because really your greatest resource, and I think I'm quoting what's that guy? I forget his name. He's a Pisces. I'll think of his name next time. People are your greatest resource. So if you have goals that you want to achieve, all right, you need people because they are your greatest resource. Okay. So if you understand people and you can establish a rapport with people and work together with them harmoniously, you're way ahead of the game. Okay. You're going to reach your goals and go beyond. But this is totally necessary to be able to do that in your life, because people are your greatest resource. And on that note, I will end this particular episode, and I will do the next episode next week. We'll lay the next template. We'll draw a line right through here, and we'll see where that's going. And I'll give a little recap of this so that you remember that. And hopefully, after many, many episodes, your life, your ability to assess and get along and deal with other people and yourself will be tremendously enhanced. Anyways, my name is Trace Perot. This particular series is appearing on Raw Vegan Cowboy on YouTube. I am a musician, an artist, and what else? I'm now a producer. I've started a fledgling production company called Wild Bull Studios, and that comes from Taurus. I'm a Taurus, and the symbol for Taurus is a bull. Okay, so I'm starting this Wild Bull Studios. My website is Tracy Ray Music, TraciRay music.com, if you want to check that out. And please like and share this video. Ring the notification bell so you know when the next one's coming up. And comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think I'm full of shit. Or if this is going somewhere and it's helping you out and you can see some potential in it. So give me comments, give me constructive criticism. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you.